Perfect. Beautiful. So, as I am reading the energy in the room, and you're all telling me that you're feeling a little bit tired tonight and lacking in energy, I am going to suggest that we start seated, because I think if we lie down, I'll never get you up. So we'll start seated and then we'll work our way towards lying on the floor. I think that's probably a better solution. So I think tonight I might use a little cushion just to prop myself up, hiding behind a chair. So you find the cross-leg position that suits you best. If you're not feeling cross-legged, if you've got any restrictions in either the knees or the hips, then by all means you find the position that feels comfortable for you. Our intention initially is to create that straight line from the back of the head to the tailbone, allowing for that natural curve at the lower back. So it might help to imagine that you're leaning against a wall and to position the hands mindfully so that we're resting the backs of the hands to the inner thighs, palms turned up towards the ceiling. We'll take a moment to squeeze the shoulders up towards the ears. Then as we exhale, we'll shrug them go. I'm laughing at Abby's cat, who's like right up in her face while she's doing it. Inhale to squeeze the shoulders up. Again, just shrug, let them go. Isolate the right shoulder, ease that up towards the ear. A little more control as you roll that shoulder back and down. And the same with the left. Easing that shoulder back. Bringing both shoulders up. Then both together, roll the shoulders back and down. Keep that action going. Let's create circles with the shoulders. So it starts to feel a little bit clicky, a little bit uncomfortable, particularly for those of us who've been at a laptop all day. So we're just working through that full range of movement. Lovely. Now pick the hands up off of the inner thighs, place the hands onto the shoulders. Keep that circle movement, but this time use the elbows so that we're drawing those circles a little wider. So we still get a sense that we're working through the range of movement in the shoulders, but there's a real opening through the collarbones and a release down through the shoulder blades. Lovely. As you get to this position, extend the arms wide. So we'll start in quite a relaxed position. Fingers open, palms facing towards the front of the room, shoulder blades drawn together, and it might help to just reset that straight line again from the back of the head to the tailbone. Take a moment to close the eyes. And bring your awareness to the breath. So we're very adept at sending the breath down through the midline of the body. You kind of have that sense of breathing from the tip of the nose down through the length of the spine. But I want you, as you come to the next inhalation, to almost send that breath out in a T-junction so that we're sending the breath to the end of the fingertips. As you exhale, draw the shoulder blades together, draw the tummy button in. So inhaling, expanding through the fingertips, exhaling, engaging to draw in the tummy button, creating a little heat here in the body. There's still no effort, we're nicely relaxed, jaw is soft. We can feel that heat building through the sides of the body, a little bit into the armpits. Now let's just simply turn the palms up towards the ceiling. So all we're doing is rotating the thumbs back. Try to maintain a straight line from fingertip to fingertip. So that means keeping the elbows lifted, keeping the shoulder blades drawn together. Perfect. A little wiggle with the fingertips. Then use the wrist to draw 3 circles forward. Then we'll take 3 circles back. Lovely. Then bring the hands almost as if you're making a stop right now, thank you very much motion. Pressing the palms away, drawing the shoulder blades together. So again, very warming, very engaging in the core. That cat's just hilarious. And then we'll bring the palms together, placing Left hand onto the heart, right hand on top. Just let the shoulders relax and release here. You might still have the eyes closed. Take a moment to just gently nod the chin towards the chest, encouraging a little more length through the back of the neck into the space between the shoulder blades. As you inhale, widen and expand through the lungs and the ribcage. As you exhale, engage the core. Bring your head back to center and gently blink the eyes open. Perfect. Now bring the palms to rest onto the knees. It's almost as if you're kind of holding the knees. On the out breath, draw the tummy button in. Encourage a curve through the spine. So we want to start roughly in the middle. It's almost as though we're drawing the tailbone forward. We're nodding the chin again towards the chest, curving the spine into a cat stretch. As you inhale, opposite effect, draw the sternum forward, shoulders back and down, lifting the sternum, lifting the gaze, opening into cow pose. Exhale, come into a seated cat stretch. Try not to lift the shoulders in this action. As you inhale, draw the sternum forward, opposite action. One more time into the cat stretch. Inhaling to pull forward into the cow pose, lifting the gaze, then returning your gaze to face forward. Again, we want to take the tension out the arms, so let's just turn the palms up once more. Inhale to squeeze the shoulders up. Exhale, bridge, shrug, let them go. Let's turn the head so that the underside of the chin remains parallel to the floor as we gaze over the right shoulder. Lower the chin down towards that shoulder. Trace the line of the collarbone, travelling from right to left. The underside of the chin again parallel to the floor. Then return the gaze to centre, following the nose through that midline. Perfect. Lift the arms straight forward. Readjust so that we feel like we're leaning back into a wall, drawing the tummy button in, extending through the fingertips, bringing the palms together. Right forefinger over left as we create an interlock here at the heart space. So the elbows remain soft, the shoulders remain released. Turn the hands inside out. As you inhale, lift both arms up towards the ceiling. And we all have different sticky bits in the shoulders, so work through your range of movement. And with the breath, we're just trying to find a little more space. It's not uncommon that one shoulder feels tighter than the other. So allow yourself to just make little adjustments here, easing through the side of the rib cage, engaging the core until we press the palms to the ceiling, feeling the ears between the upper arms. Nice long line through the arms. Exhale to engage the core and bring the hands back again to chest level. As you turn the hands in towards the heart, separate, make the same interlock, but this time we're putting the left forefinger to the top, bringing the hands behind the lower back. So chances are we'll have leaned forward here, so realign into that lovely lifted out the sit bones, engage the core, slide the hands away from the lower back and just explore that space through the side of the rib cage, a little bit more through the pectoral muscles, and just keep an eye on the chin. If you're pushing the chin forward, chances are you're just putting tension on the neck. So keep that chin knotted back as you lift the arms. Then as you exhale, release, bring the hands back to your lower back and separate the hands down by your side. So I'm going to move off my little lift now. My knees are feeling a little better. Let's bring the opposite foot in front. So we're switching onto the opposite leg cross. Place both hands either side of the hips. Notice that even though we've done that release through the shoulders, it's still possible that we've not quite got the palms to the floor, so don't force it. Gentle touch with the fingers rather than leaning into the hands. Extend the right arm away, lift and lengthen through the left. So the first action is to create a diagonal line. The next action is to allow that right elbow to come in towards the waist, tracing the left arm up and over, and then we'll just turn and tuck the chin into the left armpit. You might find that your eyelashes can tickle the inside of that upper arm. Every out breath, easing a little more deeply, opening into the waist. Inhaling to lift, come back to center, extend the opposite hand away. So the action, to remind you, is to create the diagonal first, shoulder blades drawn back and down. Bring that right elbow in towards the waist, then lift up and over. I think I've said right when I mean left. Keep lengthening through the fingertips. So you can feel that the more you push through the fingertips, the more you're almost like lifting the weight of the ribcage off the waist. Then inhale, lift, come back again to center. Place the right hand now behind the right hip, left hand to right knee. Inhale to lift up out of the sit bones. Follow the side of the ribcage, don't use your head, and we'll rotate the ribcage a little bit, I'd say about halfway back. Then as you exhale, coming a little deeper into the twist. Again, I'll remind you, keeping an eye that the shoulders don't jump up here. Let the knees remain soft. We're working with the breath to come into that full twist and release. On the inhale, we'll lift the arms up overhead, creating a nice strong Y shape, shoulders relaxed. Exhale, opposite hand to opposite knee. Inhale to lift. Exhale, first part of the twist. Inhale, a reminder to draw the shoulder blades together. Exhale, the second part of the twist. Keep those shoulders relaxed, that jaw released. Rather than lifting the hands this time, simply bring the shoulders to face forward again, replacing the palms in front of the ankles. Inhale to lift out of center. Then as you exhale, start to walk the hands forward. So again, a reminder that if we're in a rush, we might end up curving the spine and just dragging the head towards the floor. It's always a good idea to create that diagonal from the back of the head to the tailbone. My challenge in this one is always thinking that I'm bringing the forearms to the floor rather than lowering the shoulders. So we're just finding a little lift, a little release into the lower back. Draw the shoulder blades together, engage the core, push into the palms, walk the hands back towards the ankles. Reposition both hands behind the lower back. Actually, because we've done a little work in the shoulders, I can get my palms to the floor. Doesn't always happen. Shoulder blades drawn together. Without leaning into the fingers, visualize that you're lifting out of the sit bones, lifting the sternum, turning your gaze up to the ceiling. So it's a bit like that cow pose we did earlier, but there's just a little bit more control. As you exhale, engage the core, bring your gaze forward. You might choose to reposition your hands so that the fingers are turning out now, just so that you've got a little more strength in the wrists. If this isn't good on your wrists or your ankles, repeat that stretch we just did. Otherwise, press the shins forward, lift the bottom from the floor, draw the shoulder blades together and lift, lift, lift. So again, the diagonal line here runs from the knee through the hip to the shoulder. Inhale to widen through the chest, lifting the belly. Exhale to soften the sit bones back to the floor. Inhaling again to lift back to center. Perfect. Take a moment to extend the left leg. Place the inside of the right, or the bottom of the right foot to the inside of the left thigh. Lift up and lengthen out of the sit bones. Then as you exhale, repeat that little walk forward. So this is the one where we tend to distribute our weight over to the right side so that we don't get that nasty stretch. So just remember that both sit bones should be equally weighted. And again, we're working towards the idea that we get the forearms and the elbows towards the floor, keeping a nice diagonal line from the back of the head to the tailbone. It's like we're fine-tuning the nice stretch we get to the inner thigh, a little bit behind the knee. Inhale, visualize that traveling all the way to the palms of the hands. As you exhale, engage the core, Walk the hands back again to centre. A little bit further back. Opposite foot comes in, opposite leg extended. So notice on the extended leg that the toe is pointing up. Lift up and lengthen out of the sit bones, and as you exhale, hinge, hinge, hinge. So I know that I'm a little tighter on this side, so I won't force to get the forearms to the floor, but I know that that's kind of my challenge, where I'd like to end up. We're always being mindful that we're not pulling behind the knee, that the stretch is nicely into that inner thigh. As you exhale, engage the core. As you inhale, press into the palms, walk back again to centre. So now we've done one leg at a time. We can do both legs together. If you were feeling a lot of tension under the knees, there's nothing wrong with you keeping a little slack there, but try to keep the toes pointing up so that we isolate the stretch to the inner thighs. Avoid, where you can, rounding the spine. So make your first action to lift and lengthen out of the sit bones. Then on the out breath, start to ease the palms forward, easing the forearms towards the floor, and always stopping just when you get beyond that point of mild discomfort. If it feels hot, if it feels painful, we've gone a little bit too far too soon. Keep drawing the shoulder blades together, leading with the sternum. Rather than lifting the upper body, rather than lifting the arms, let's just slide the palms out so that they can rest perhaps on the ankles, perhaps on the feet, whatever is comfortable for you. Lengthen by drawing the sternum forward. Then as you exhale, let's fold a little deeper, drawing the shoulders parallel to the floor. You can use the palms onto the soles of the feet, A, to remind you to keep the toes up, and B, to just give you something to draw against, to bring that chest a little deeper to the floor. Now the lower back, as you can imagine, is now very exposed, so no sudden movements here. Let's place the hands underneath the shoulders. Inhale to widen through the chest so the shoulders relax back and down. Exhale to engage the core. Inhale to push into the palms to lift the upper body, then exhale to walk back to centre. Bring the soles of the feet together, creating a Baddha Konasana. So you know your preference to either draw the heels in to make that tighter on the knees, or to take it a little further away just to give you a bit more space in the hips. Inhale to lift up and lengthen. Exhale to hinge forward. Ideally, we're not pulling on the feet, we're just gently resting the hands on the ankles or on the feet, just to give us somewhere to have some purchase to ease the chest forward. So it's another fold action, but chances are it's a little bit more challenging than that wide leg fold. Again, we're very mindful that the lower back is exposed here. So inhale to widen through the chest, draw the shoulder blades together. Exhale to engage the core. As you inhale, lift the chest, little press onto the feet. Take hold of the right foot, push the heel away. So we've been very much concentrating on the inner thigh. We want to now start to feel a little bit of action through the back of the thigh. Pressing through the heel, so ideally ironing out that bend in the knee, and maintaining, if we can, a straight line in centre, not leaning to one side. Keep pushing through the heel, open through the opposite arm. So when we started, we kind of set ourselves a challenge of really feeling into the fingertips here. So keep those shoulders back and down, lift the sternum, press through the heel, and extend all the way to the end of the fingertips on the left hand. Good, lot to think about. Then bring that foot back to centre. Same level of focus and grace, extending into the other side. So I always find when I come into this, I've kind of lent a little bit into the lower back. So a little reminder to lift, to press through the heel, to extend through the fingertips. So the sternum is working and lifting, the core is engaging. As you exhale, engage the core, Bring the soles of both feet together. Keep that core engagement as you press through the heels. Again, we don't want to roll back, so visualize finding that center point. Pressing through the heels, drawing the shoulders away, no tension through the upper body, just a deeper stretch into the back of the thighs, perhaps again recruiting the inner thighs. Then as you exhale, engage the core, draw the soles of the feet together. One more time to lift up and lengthen, exhaling, just stretching the lower back here as we come into a more relaxed, a less forced Baddha Konasana. Engage the core, inhale to lift, come back to center. Perfect. So I'm going to move as though we're coming onto all fours now, but rather than stacking the knees underneath the hips, which is our usual position, we're going to take the knees wider than the edges of the mat. We're bringing the toes almost to touch behind us, so it creates a diamond shape in the lower body. The wrists will be notionally underneath the shoulders, a little further forward than the shoulders. Then as you exhale, breathe the elbows towards the floor. So it's as though you're pushing the sit bones back towards the heels, and we're just working on that space that we've created in the inner thigh, in and around the hips. Slide the forearms forward, slide the palms forward. We still want to keep the forearms to the floor. We still want to be pushing the sit bones back, but we're now just going to gently draw the forehead towards the floor. It might not go all the way down. You find the position that works for you. You're mindful that we're opening the inner thighs, that we're lengthening through the spine, that we're creating quite a nice, gentle lift and release in the underarm area around the shoulders. Then push down into the palms, slide the palms back under the shoulders, lift up into center, reposition the knees underneath the hips, place the wrists underneath the shoulders. So we're back into our kind of more traditional all fours position. A reminder here to keep the elbows soft, draw the shoulder blades together, to keep that core engaged. So we're gently lifting the belly up and in. Take the right foot back, turn the toe under, press through the heel. So we've now pretty much covered every main muscle group in the legs, working now into the calf, into the ankle. Return that knee to center. Take the opposite foot back. Again, pressing into the heel, widening through the collarbones. That core engagement just helps to keep the lower back nice and strong. Then bring that knee back again to center. So we'll easily repeat the action of taking the right foot back. This time we're not pushing the heel to the floor, we're just resting on the top of that ball of the foot. Extend the left arm forward, then lift that right heel up until you create a straight line from the heel through the back of the hip, the fingertips. I'm a bit far forward hitting the radiator. That's better. So opposite arm, opposite leg, creating a little bit of tillering effect so that the core is working hard to figure out where center is. Replace that palm to the floor, bring the right knee in, take the left foot back. We'll repeat the same, so we lift the heel, extend the arm forward. Perfect. Elbow, remember, on the supporting arm, nice and soft, not locked. If it helps you, you can put that back foot into flexion, press through the heel. Sometimes it just reminds you where you need to activate. Then replace the palm and the knee to the floor. Walk both hands forward. Gently start to push the sit bones to the heels. Lower the forearms to the floor. Bring the forehead in between the elbows and rest back here in whatever approximation of child's pose is comfortable for you. With every out breath, you're pushing a little deeper into the sit bones. lengthening through the spine. Then on the inhale, lift the chest forward. To make it easy, we're just going to slide the feet back, bringing ourselves onto the thighs, the belly, the chest. I'm just going to make a little adjustment with my camera angle because I'm mindful that I'm on the floor and I'm not sure you can see what's going on. So forgive me while I just lower it down. Adjust. That should be plenty of space. Beautiful. Right, I'm in the middle of the screen now, that's better. So elbows under shoulders, palms again facing down, shoulder blades drawn together. So we're mindful that we're gently hovering over the thighs, opening the hip flexors to the floor. As we did earlier, we're just going to mobilise the neck by turning to look over one shoulder, inhaling to look forward, exhaling to look over the other shoulder, then inhaling again to look forward. Let's allow the forehead to rest all the way to the floor. Keep the left forearm on the mat. Then as you fold the right heel in towards the bottom, just use that hand to draw the heel a little closer towards the butt. So notice if you're pulling the heel out. Ideally, we want the heel above the sit bone, the shoulders drawn together, the chest open. A moment here where we press into the forearm, lift the chest, press the right thigh to the floor, keep that lower back really soft, open into the thigh stretch. Then as you exhale, release, bring the right foot to the floor. Let's stack right hand on top of left, elbows are out. So we're coming into what we call crocodile pose. So because we've got one hand on top of the other, we can easily bring the forehead to rest here. So we don't have the nose touching the floor. I just want you to focus on the breath. Inhaling to the belly, the chest and the collarbones. Then exhaling from the collarbones, the chest and the belly last. So you're controlling that level of lift and then that nice slow release. One more time, that full deep inhalation, that long steady exhalation. And again, we just want to keep the back of the neck soft. So imagine that you're bringing the right ear parallel to the floor. Then roll through the forehead, bring the left ear parallel to the floor. Now just repeat that action. So we're rolling through the forehead, right ear parallel, then left ear parallel. It's actually quite a nice massaging action over the forehead. Then bring your head back again to center. We want to return to the Sphinx pose. So elbows under shoulders, palms facing down, lifting out of that space in the forearms, drawing the sternum forward, shoulders release back. Now as you exhale, draw the left heel in, take the left arm, hand, grab hold of that left ankle, draw the ankle in towards the sit bone, push down in towards the forearm, lengthening the stretch in the left thigh and the left hip flexor. If you keep the buttocks soft, that will help to keep the lower back soft. And again, just notice if you're rolling to one side or the other. As you exhale, release, bring that foot to the floor. Let's bring both heels in, take hold of both ankles. So in front of the feet is better. Heels in towards center, push into the thighs, push into the belly, lift the chest, and just open the front of the body. And as you exhale, let the head release, let the feet release, reposition the hands either side of the chest, push into the palms, lengthen back, Come into a lovely long child's pose here. So in this child's pose, just notice that the elbows are lifted, that you're pushing the palms to the mat, you're pushing the sit bones to the heels, ears between the upper arms. On an inhale, lift the fingertips, press the wrist to the mat. Just changes the emphasis of where you feel the strength. Then replace the palms, lift yourself back up again into an all fours position. So keep that spine nice and soft, nice and loose. Relax the elbows, turn both toes under. Exhale, draw the tummy button in, roll up through the spine, nod the chin to the chest. Keep rooting the sit bones down towards the knees, lifting through the sternum, lifting through the belly button. Then release back to a neutral spine position. I'm not going to do the opposite because we've done quite a lot of back bends in that posture. So now we're going to slide the right foot back again. We're going to lift the right foot up, bend that knee, and I want you to really visualize that you're allowing your body weight to go into that right forearm, into that right palm. Use the left hand to take hold of the right foot and try to keep the knee as high as the hip. Try to keep the hips and the shoulders square to the mat. And by applying gentle pressure to the top of the foot, you can just toggle the heel a little closer to the bottom. And in an ideal world, you're doing opposite hand to opposite foot. If you do the same side, you will fall over. It's just basic physics. You can allow that hand to release, bring the right knee to the floor, and we'll do the same on the other side. So slide the left foot back, bring that leg up, bend the knee, take the right hand now to take hold of the left ankle. So I'm kind of exaggerating here, but notice how I'm just letting my left knee drop to the floor. We need that knee to be up, shoulder blades drawn together, lengthening, opening the sternum forward, opening deeply into that hip flexor, then replacing the hand, the shin to the floor, coming down again onto the forearms, so elbows under shoulders, sliding the thumbs together so the palms are open, facing down to the floor, the thumbs are touching, pushing the sit bones back. Another lovely version of child's pose. Slide the palms forward by lifting the elbows. Inhale to lift the chest forward, sink the thighs to the floor, lift the sternum straight into cobra pose. Exhale, lengthen back, come into child's pose. So let's do a little flow with this. So inhale, thighs down, chest open. Exhale, sit bones back, lengthening. Inhale, open the sternum, draw the shoulders back and down. Exhale, squeeze the sit bones to the back of the room. Inhale, lift forward. Exhale, ease back. One more set. Inhale. Exhale. This time on the inhale, lift the sternum. Just hang around a little longer with the thighs touching the floor, opening the hip flexors, rolling the shoulders back and down. Then as you exhale, bring the forearms to the floor again. Ease yourself back into child's pose. Let's make fists with the hands, stacking one hand on top of the other, and bring the forehead to rest. So just a few moments here to allow the spine to soften, to decompress. Beautiful. And when you're ready, press the palms into the mat. I'll bring you up into all fours just because it's a nice comfortable way to get out of this. So we're going to do a little bit of a walk through downward facing dog. I'm not going to do anything too energetic. because we did talk about the energy in the room when we came in. But the nice thing is doing all of those heart openers should have created a little bit of, just a bit more energy really. So begin by placing the wrists under the shoulders, spreading the fingers, softening the elbows, turning both toes under. It's a nice way to just kind of keep yourself stoppered and in place. Push the sit bones back, little movement here. Effectively, we're lifting the knees, pressing the heels towards the floor, but keeping a bend in the knees. So for now, we're not feeling a big stretch through back of the thighs. We're not overloading the wrists. The intention here is to find the center by pushing the sit bones back, lifting the tailbone, keeping a big old bend in the knees, so that we just feel that we're holding ourselves up, but nice and strong. Then on the out breath, bend the knees, sit back on the heels. This time, bringing the wrists either side of the ankles, allowing the forehead to release forward. Some of you will get your forehead on the floor. Some of us are just hanging about somewhere above the floor, and it doesn't matter. Do what's right for you. Now walk the hands forward again. So once more, we're starting in that all fours position. We're perhaps going to build up into a little bit more of what we would recognise as a traditional downward facing dog. So turning the toes under, lifting the knees, but this time rather than keeping the knees bent, we want to keep pushing the sit bones to the back of the room. So it helps, I think, if you push, let me think how I'm describing this, almost as though you're lining up the ears between the upper arms. You can feel your shoulders travelling back, the hips travelling back, lifting through the tailbone, bending the right knee to ease the left heel to the floor, then switching to the opposite side. So opposite heel, opening gently into the back of the hamstrings. Let's see how it feels to bring both heels to the floor. Lift the tailbone, push the sit bones up. Then on the out breath, into your child's pose. Forehead forward, wrists either side of the ankles. Because we're likely to have been holding our weight a little bit, let's just draw little circles with the wrists, and that will ease any tension in the wrists, in the forearms. Beautiful. Now bring the hands again, either side of the head. I'm going to get you to sit up into hero pose, but I know it's not a favourite, so I'm not going to leave you there. Lovely. Perfect. Push into the shins. So you've lifted yourself up. We're going to keep an anchor point from this right hip to the right knee, and the shin stays connected to the floor as you extend the left leg forward. So when you extend that left leg forward, let's lift the toe up. So that's a straight leg that's extended forward rather than having a bend in the knee. That's it. And now you're like, oh gosh, that's a bit of a balance here now. It feels very Cossack, doesn't it? So the easiest way to keep our balance is to kind of bring the height of our body a little bit closer to the floor. So place the hands onto the thigh, don't go onto the knee, and just breathe the thigh forward. Not the thigh, the chest forward. Beautiful. So you might find that you can get the belly onto the thigh. You might find that you're more comfortable taking hold of that big toe, or you might just feel reassured having the right hand on the floor. You know where this is going. You can now feel that stretch in the back of the hamstring. So we're pushing the sit bones back, we're lengthening that front leg, we're breathing the belly to the thigh, trying to keep the shoulders soft. Then replace both hands underneath the shoulders. Slide that left foot back until you can bend the knee. Position the hands on top of the thigh. Inhale, lift up, and we'll switch over and do the same on the other side. So the left leg becomes the anchor point, the right leg extends forward, toe is up. So balance is the key here, but if we can, try to keep the hands connected for a moment to the thighs so that you can walk the upper body forward. If you need to place that left hand on the floor for balance, then do so. Take hold of either the sole of the foot, the big toe, whatever works for you. Just gives you something to hold while you breathe the belly closer to the thigh. So we just keep that deeper stretch into the hamstring. Elbows are soft. Then again, so that we don't overdo anything, hands to the floor, slide the right foot back, bend that knee, lift it up, push into the sole of that right foot and bring yourself up to a standing position. Lovely. So in the interest of just keeping working a little bit with the legs, I'll do a bit of balance just to begin with. So let's start by simply lifting the right knee, bringing the knee to a 90-degree angle, underside of the foot parallel to the floor, palms either side of the hips facing forward. So think of the plumb line from the top of the head to the tailbone, using the core engagement. To distract yourself from the balance, you might want to draw 3 circles with the ankle. And we're working through both ranges of movement. Beautiful. Replace that foot to the floor. That was a bit tentative there. It was a bit like, whoa, I feel like I'm falling over. So feel more anchored now through the sole of the right foot. Lift the left knee. So remember, my tip here is always don't grab hold with the toes on the standing foot. So spread the toes, find your center, keep that lift and length. So we don't want to be leaning forward. Then you can start to use the toe to distract you from the balance action. Oh, it's funny, I'm stronger on one side than the other. Then replace that foot to the floor. You see, even I should be able to do that, and I can't. So bring your hands to the hips and make sure that we're not locking the knees out. So we're not pushing everything back, we're allowing that softness. Think again about that lift. So lifting the weight of the ribcage off the belly, keeping the shoulders back and down. The hands on the hips are just a good gauge for you to feel what's going on in the hips. As you exhale, hinge to a 90-degree angle. So don't be a hero, just find the 90-degree angle. So the back of the head should, if you draw a straight line, line up with the back of the hips. On an out breath, press the sit bones towards the back of the room. On an in breath, lift the sternum forward, draw the shoulder blades together. So we're still keeping this 90-degree angle at the hips. We're just working a little more into the tops of the hamstrings. To fine tune one at a time, extend the right arm forward, bring the upper arm to the side of the right ear, press through the fingertips, push the sit bones to the back of the room. Again, you can draw little circles with the wrist, going through both ranges of movement. Then bring that hand back to the hip, shoulder blades drawn together, core engaged, extend the opposite hand forward. As we did before, we're just going to lengthen by pressing through the fingertips, pushing the sit bones to the back of the room. And then if you like to do the little wrist rotation, now is the time to add that in. Then bring the hands back on to both of the hips. Now, rather than taking it all the way into a forward fold, I'm going to suggest that we soften the knees, that we keep pushing the sit bones to the back of the room and come into a chair pose. So my chair pose is more comfortable if I heel toe the feet a little wider apart. It just helps sometimes when you're a little bit bulkier in the upper body, it just gives you a little bit better balance. Keep pushing the sit bones back. Bring the hands to a nice, comfortable, relaxed Anjali Mudra at your heart center. So again, the shoulders shouldn't be lifted. We should be relaxed back and down. We keep pressing the sit bones back. And it kind of feels as though we're parking our bottom on an invisible stool. Lift the right heel, so left foot remains connected to the floor. Then lower that heel to the floor, lift the left. So you're just acutely adjusting the bend in the knee. So we're transitioning the weight from right to left, from right to left, lifting both heels now, keeping pushing the sit bones back. Beautiful. Then replace the heels, press the hands onto the thighs, push into the thighs as you unhinge, lifting up straight. You glad you did that? Not a lot. Give the legs a little shaky shake. Now we're going to do a front thigh stretch now. So if it helps for you to have something to hold on to keep your balance, I suggest that you do that before you fall over. So find an anchor point. When we take hold of the ankle, remember it's really important to bring the thighs together, to line the knees up. You want to feel the stretch through the front of the thigh. So it might help to just gently press the hips forward, open into the hip flexor. And then once you're confident, take your hand away from your little leaning place. Take hold of the ear. Nice, good focus. And when you're ready, you can come out of that side and we'll transition to the opposite side. Depending on where your balance level is, you might have to turn around. Beautiful. So it's fine to kind of quickly grab hold of the ankle, but make sure your alignment then is right. So thighs should be together, knees together. And if you again imagine that you're lifting out of center, so if anything, you're drawing the shoulders back, lining up the back of the head with the tailbone. And there might even be that little half tilt of the hips just to lengthen what's going on in the hip flexor. All these little tiny things just make a difference. Then when you're ready, release that foot, bring that foot to the floor. Nice. It's a bit cruel to do that stretch after we've done chair, but there you go. Them's the cards you've been dealt tonight. So one last standing posture and then I will take you down for a little lie down. See, it's gone really quickly. So hands on hips, knees nice and soft. As you exhale, we're transitioning through that 90-degree angle we did before. Then we're coming a little deeper, but let's not rush it. Let's allow the knees to bend. Bring the belly to the thighs. Let the backs of the hands come to the floor. Tuck the chin under and just hang here comfortably. I'm more inclined here to focus on releasing the lower back than I am on finding another big stretch in the hamstrings. So you'll find that if the knees are soft, if the hands are just hanging, if the head is heavy. Lift the tailbone a little. Now we're starting to wake up the hamstrings. Engage the core. Widen the arms to make a T shape. Keep looking down at the toes, draw the tummy button in. As you inhale, push into the soles of the feet, but try not to whip the head up. Just unfold. Lift the belly off the thighs. Lift yourself into a standing position. Lift the arms overhead. Bring the hands to an Anjali Mudra. If creating a straight line is uncomfortable for the shoulders, the elbows, there is nothing wrong with softening the elbows and drawing the shoulders down. Try to keep the back of the head in line with the tailbone. Keep those thighs in that nice centered position. So avoid pushing the hips forward. Lift the sternum, bring your gaze up towards the thumbs. Inhale to lift the chest, open and ease back. And then as you exhale, engage the core, bring the hands back to heart center. Beautiful job. Let's just turn the hand so that we're facing forward, hands nice and soft by your side. So take the feet a little bit wider. I say a little bit and then I go and stand like a 90s fitness instructor, but hey, I'm comfortable here. Keep the knees nice and soft and just start to throw the hands away. So you're kind of like bouncing the weight from one side to the other, chucking it all away. Turn that into flicking the hands from side to side. Again, looks a bit like a dance movement, but let's not that put us off. Come back to center. So we're nice and soft in the knees. I want you to imagine that you're scooping the air up, bringing the air overhead, and then we're chucking it away by bending the knees. Inhale, scoop it up. Exhale, chuck it away. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more. And then hang around down there. Just hang forward. Just bring the palms to the floor. And again, we're just transitioning the weight from one side to the other. Knees are soft. This just feels really delicious in the lower back. Then reposition the hands in center. Make sure the toes are pointing forward so the insides of the feet are parallel. Keep that big old bend in the knees as you bring your hands to the thighs. Push down into the soles of the feet. One more time, lift yourself up. Now that you've lifted yourself up, lie yourself down. I cannot believe how quickly this has gone. I demand a recount. I'm having far too much fun. So we're going to come into Shavasana now. So if you would prefer to dim the lights, to grab a blanket, then by all means do so. Find the position where you feel supported, comfortable, where you don't feel distracted. So pay particular attention if you've chosen to put a blanket on or if you're wearing any bulkier clothing, that you're not lying on anything that might just start to feel a little uncomfortable in a moment. So make sure that you can feel a connection through the wide muscles of the back, either with some support behind you if you're seated or through the floor as you're laying. A little reminder from me to unclench the jaw, to relax the tongue in the well of the mouth, and to bring your awareness again to the breath. So because we finished on quite an energizing breath, you might notice that your heart rate is a little elevated, and that's quite nice really. But let's work with the breath to just find a nice, comfortable, relaxed pace. Paying attention to filling the lungs completely, emptying the lungs fully. Actively notice the familiar sounds around you. Acknowledge, accept, and recognize that they are not a cue that you need to do anything or need to be anywhere else right now. Remind yourself that you have gifted this hour just for you. And this is your sacred time, even if it's only once a week, to really tune into your body, your breath, to explore what your body needs. To give your mind permission to quiet. To welcome the silence. It's perfectly okay if random thoughts pop into your head. But try, if you can, to just pin anything on your to-do list to one side. You can return to that later. For now, you have a date with yourself. Anytime the attention wanders, return the focus to the breath. But for now, I will quiet and just allow you space. I'm still here, just allowing you quiet. Just a few more moments of quiet and calm. Focusing once more on the breath. Becoming aware again of your space within this room. Allowing yourself to tune in again to those familiar sounds around you. Take a deep breath in through the nose, a noisier breath out through the mouth. Perhaps allow your next breath to go with an audible sigh. Now just notice how your body feels in this moment. Take this feeling with you into the rest of your week and your weekend ahead. Recognize how easy it would be for you to return to this place whenever you need to switch off from the noise, from the bustle, to just carve yourself a rare few moments of quiet and calm. Now, when you feel ready to do so, start to slowly return sensation to the physical body, perhaps wiggling fingers and toes, wriggling the jaw and the nose. If you're laying down, you might want to take a long stretch through the body. You might prefer to hug the knees to the chest. If you're in a seated position, why not just give yourself a big hug? Take your time to return to a comfortable seated position. When you're ready, bringing the hands to an Anjali Mudra. Touch to the head for kind thoughts, to the lips for kind words, and to the heart for kind intentions. The light in me honours the light in you. Namaste. I'll just quickly stop recording.